reasons why. Great route recognition and eyes and zone coverage. He has the physicality and the footwork to play man. He's a good tackler as well. If I had to put a ding, I would just say the recovery speed, the top end speed isn't elite per se, but he so rarely gets beat that it doesn't matter. 26% completion percentage allowed in college, 0 touchdowns his final year. To me, whatever team drafts him, they're going to go to bed and sleep like a baby tonight.
And the other big part about when you watch his film, this is a guy that wants to compete on every throw. He's combative at the catch point, which if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you know how often you'll see 50-50 balls even in good coverage. You have to have a guy like a man that dictate how high your knee drive is and also the dorsiflex in your shoes.
Thank you for that analysis. No,
like that outfit,
I could run in that one.
both.
Yeah. No, I was a little mad about the Sugar Bowl outfit because I had brought heels and I couldn't do anything about it.
Free flowing there.
Yeah, that was
dorsiflex. Free flowing there. That there's a little.
I can do better than that.
Yeah, you got some. You're not really raising your knees there, but
Tebow was in my seat.
Also, as soon as you sit down, you're ready to work. You're the real quarterback of that, not Tim Tebow.
Xavier Worthy. That's all I'll say.
I do not deserve all of this. I am very uncomfortable by it. So let's get back to talking about the draft.
Next 40, Rich Eisen versus Laura Rutledge.
Run like this.
Whatever, Dan. I was carrying stuff. All right, Field projects actual speed. 5 wide receivers to go in the first round tonight. Beginning with Carnell Tate going 7th to the Commanders. Jordan Tyson goes with the next pick to the Saints at 8. Mekhi Lemon, Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper Jr. round out the rest of Field's first round wideouts. Field feels like every mock draft has Tate, Tyson, Lemon as the first 3 that are off the board. Are these all 3 built equal, though, in your mind?
I think a couple things here. It's sort of what is your flavor here, but I do see kind of a 2-player tier, a drop, and then a 3rd player entering the chat. Jordan Tyson and Carnell Tate went back and forth on my big board as wide receiver 1. Really, though, it's what are you looking for? Carnell Tate is this refined, NFL-ready, probably wide receiver 2. Not a lot of great top-end speed. He was clocked at 4.53 on the official clock at the Combine. A lot of teams had him more in the mid to high 4.4s. He had just 1 drop this past season. Very steady performer for Ohio State. Diligent with his route running. Makes contested catches on the sidelines. Jordan Tyson's the oh-wow guy. Now, this past season was difficult because the quarterback play was a mess at Arizona State. He dealt with a hamstring injury. I thought sort of the interesting part about Jordan Tyson and evaluating him in 2025 was that some of the plays that I was most intrigued by were plays where he never saw the ball. He's toasting defensive backs on routes. The quarterback either is on his butt by the time he's able to throw the football, or he just makes an inaccurate pass. Tyson's this explosive, dynamic difference maker. I know you guys talked about him having some movement skills that reminded you of Odell Beckham Jr. That's the name that kept coming up with scouts throughout the fall. Mekhi Lemon, who I had 16th in my mock draft and 17th on my overall big board. This guy is ferocious. He's tough after the catch. He's instinctive after the catch. He has contact strength. The question is, typically, smaller and slower wide receivers, and this is compared to other wide receivers, haven't been drafted top 10, top 12 overall. There's not as many guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Part of the reason why we talk about him so much is he is a unique player relative to your prototypical wide receiver.
But also, Amon-Ra St. Brown went later in the draft.
4th round,
right? Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't being talked about in the top 10 or the top 15. And when you watch Carnell Tate, what I get from that film is, man, this is a really good football player. This is a football player that's going to walk into the wide receiver room, and when you're talking about the route tree, when you're talking about some of the adjustments and motions, he's going to have all of that stuff down pat, and I believe he'll be productive. Jordan Tyson, in one word, is nasty, right? There are times where you cut the film on and you looking at DBs, looking at the quarterback, because what they're saying to themselves is, holy hell, if they see him, it's a touchdown. Right? When you have that type of separation, when you can create those type of wild plays, it's difficult for a scout, right, for an executive to pass up on that. So the conversation will be, will some of the unavailability in college factor in to whether or not we spend that top 10 pick on Jordan Tyson to get that top end play, or do we believe in who Carnell Tate is?
Well, who's your offense? That's a huge part for this. So I think Tyson is best suited in Tennessee and or New York. I think Carnell Tate is best suited in Washington because the style of quarterback and David Blau, their new offensive coordinator. Mekhi Lemon in L.A. I have a question, though, and I want, correct me if I heard you wrong. You said Carnell Tate more trending towards wide receiver, a wide receiver 2 in the NFL?
In the NFL, yes. We'll see about tonight. He could be wide receiver 2.
Here's the thing. He was wide receiver 2 in college.
So that is my huge question with Tate. And is he, if we're talking about a guy that was the 2 option at Ohio State, I understand the other guys.
Like free boards. Yeah, for sure.
Am I taking that early?
You know, the conversation you guys had surrounding Jeremiah Love, one of the concluding points was, but in this draft, we land a little bit there with Carnell Tate.
Okay.
It's a projection, though, right? He wasn't ever asked to be the wide receiver.
Can he be T. Higgins?
No.
A much different, body type and things like that.
I would just add that 4 to Tennessee, everyone says, oh, that's defense or that's like. I'm hearing there's a chance that Tennessee goes wide receiver at 4.
Whoa.
Giants love Jordan Tyson. That is not a smokescreen. They love him.
Okay.
Can they take him 5?
Yeah.
It is so rich, especially if those Ohio State defensive players are on the board. Yeah. I think 10 makes a lot more sense for the Giants than 5.
Do you think he lasts?
I don't think so. I think
that's the conundrum.
I think
right?
8 to the Saints. I think 9 to the Chiefs. Jordan Tyson is a very attractive player, and if the Giants just sit back and say, they might have to do some maneuvering. Tate and Tyson both should go in the top 10. Lemon is the wild card. I have no read on where he goes tonight.
Yeah,
and I use this person as my point of reference often. Jordan was at Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham called him. He said, hey, look, we have an opportunity to get Jordan Tyson. You played him at Colorado. Yeah. What do you think? Jordan said, I told him, hell yeah.
Ooh.
Right, he said he's that type of player, that type of difficult to cover.
Yeah, wow. By the way, wide receiver has won Offensive Rookie of the Year in 3 of the last 5 seasons. These guys can make a massive impact. Okay, we had a really special group of guests here earlier on our show before we hit the air, and this reminds you what it's all about. VIP visitors in conjunction. How do you see the rest of the top 5 playing out?
All right, Laura, we're getting closer to the top of the draft right now, as you can tell by the noise in the background. Let's take a look at the top of the draft to get an idea of how it might shake out tonight after the Raiders select Fernando Mendoza with the 1st overall pick. The Jets are expected to go with a pass rusher number 2. The question is whether it's David Bailey or Arvell Reese. Then Arizona comes up. A lot of people think the Cardinals will look to deal out, move back in the round. We'll see if there's a team that wants to trade up for the pass rusher that the Jets don't take at 2. If the Cardinals can't move, Jeremiah Love would come into the discussion. We'll see whether they would pull the trigger there or whether the Tennessee Titans would, but certainly Love figures in play at picks 3, 4, or 5, the best player in this draft according to many. So within the first 5 picks, you have to figure you're going to get Mendoza, you're going to get Love, you're going to get 2 pass rushers, and you'll get 1 other player tonight. Should be fascinating, as the draft usually is.
Adam, as we love tonight, there's a lot of these moments where the players that are here are going to be putting their outfits on display, right? We saw Arvell Reese earlier. He's got the Reese's on the inside of the jacket. Just absolutely amazing. You see him there as a centerpiece. And Adam, I got to say, you look really snazzy right now too, but that may have been in question earlier today. You had some fashion issues. What went down?
Well, Laura, I made a major fashion faux pas. Basically packed all kinds of warm clothes. So I've been so cold at previous drafts in Chicago, Cleveland, Kansas City, Green Bay. I was not going to be cold this year. So I packed a heavy sweater, a jacket, and now if you were wearing that, you would be melting because it's 80 degrees. So this morning, on the way to our meeting, I literally walked into a men's shop. I said, give me some kind of sport coat and tie. I bought this off the rack, and here we are.
Wow.
You know what? You know what Deion Sanders says? You look good, you feel good, you play good, you play good, they pay good.
Let's go, Adam.
I see you, Adam.
The best part of this story.
It mean mistake, Dan. Don't waste our time.
But isn't it? He said
It's faux pas. Yeah.
It's a mistake.
It's fine.
He said foul po.
Okay.
Why are you hating?
Dan, anyway, Dan loves to find somebody else's mistake.
He always won't be right,
Let
but
me,
be
Mr.
wrong.
Let me tell you something as we welcome you back in. We got a whole other hour of NFL Live. Dan Orlovsky, Ryan Clark, Kamina Kimes, Marcus Spears. You guys, so Adam and I were walking to the production meeting for the actual draft when he went in to go and get this suit. The first place he went, I'm not going to name names, he goes into a place and he comes right back out and he goes, man, these suits in here are too fuddy-duddy for me.
Okay, Adam, fuddy-duddy.
It means like, fancy? I don't know, drab.
Not fancy. He mean like Dan Orlovsky would wear it.
Oh, no.
He wasn't finna wear that.
So he said, I'm not wearing this, and he went into the nice place, and that's how he ended up looking as snazzy as he is. All right, anyway, we got to go. We're going to talk about the Giants, okay? Because the Giants have a chance to have a really impactful draft tonight. They made a nice trade to make that happen as well. One of 6 teams with multiple first-round picks, along with the Jets, Browns, Chiefs, Cowboys, and Dolphins. And this will mark the second time in franchise history the Giants will make 2 selections in the top 10. They also did it in 2022 when they selected Kayvon Thibodeau 5th overall and Evan Neal 7th overall. We now welcome in Kimberly Martin, who has been embedded with the team. We'll cover them tonight as they're making these impactful picks. Welcome in, Kimberly. What's the latest on how this new Harbaugh regime will handle the 2 picks inside the top 10?
Well, Laura, first of all, I hope my outfit is okay for Dan Orlovsky, Fashion
Fabulous.
Police. But as far as the Giants go, you know, Laura, certain teams have tells, right? But not these New York Giants, and that is exactly how GM Joe Schoen and head coach John Harbaugh want it. They love the fact that those questions about who's actually running this draft speak to the unpredictability of this new regime. As one team source said, listen, if you don't know what we're doing, that is great news for us. Now, if you guys take out quarterback Fernando Mendoza, if you take him out of the picture, the Giants essentially are picking 4th overall, right? And they have compiled their list of 4 names of guys that they are comfortable taking at 5. You heard Peter mention Jordan Tyson. Guys like Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, they all make sense because of their versatility, their character, their talent. But here's what I can tell you about what the Giants plan to do tonight. They plan to walk out of here with top-tier talent and good character, guys. As one team source said to me, it's not just about being a contributor. It's about being an impact player right away. Laura?
That makes sense. Definitely with the draft capital they have at these premium positions, you got to make sure you're spending that money wisely. And throughout the mock draft season, Kimberly was talking about some of it there, RC, but the Giants have been linked to some players that aren't typically what we would think about as top 5 picks. You've got a running back in Jeremiah Love. You've got linebacker Sonny Styles, safety Caleb Downs. If they went the Caleb Downs route, though, what type of player are they getting?
I think the first thing is if you go get Caleb Downs, you have to realize you're drafting him for the certainty and the floor. You're not going to be drafting him for upside like we see with guys like Sean Taylor, who are top 10 picks. Caleb Downs is one of those guys that diagnose, he anticipates, has great angles. Look at the way he finds the angle on this run. You see the crease that the running back is going to get through. This is a superb open field tackle. Now he's going to be in man-to-man on the tight end. There's going to be a rub route. He's going to play it off because he sees the tight end block. Watch the way that he closes this ground, and this is a phenomenal open field tackle. It puts you in the mind of what you used to see from a guy like Bob Sanders of the Indianapolis Colts here late in the game against Texas. He's now going to be the middle third player in a cover 2 defense. He's going to diagnose the dagger, which is a go and also a dig. He makes the play. This ends the game. And here's one of my favorite plays. Watch the way he understands he has to anticipate the snap count. He's going to be on the move before the snap. Things split apart, and he gets to the quarterback. Bob Sanders won the Defensive Player of the Year with 2 interceptions. That's the player that Caleb Downs has to be if you're going to draft him in the top 10. He has to be someone that doesn't give up plays, that impacts the game in the run game, and with physicality. When you watch his tape and you hear about top 10 safeties, you say splash plays. There was a lack of those on his tapes. So it's going to have to be about the things you like, not the things you hope to get.
I think from an offensive perspective, one of the most difficult things for game planners and then quarterbacks to deal with is a chess piece in the back 7. You never know where they're going to line up. You have to account for them in pressure situations, not only a body, but who the blocker is. Is he a nickel? Is he a third safety? Is he a true, like, is he Cooper DeJean? Who is he?
Go ahead.
I would use him like Brian Branch.
Yeah, I think you use him like Brian Branch. The thing that makes me nervous.
Brian Branch got some.
But so here's the thing. Brian Branch was also drafted in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
And what he showed at Alabama that Caleb Downs hasn't showed us is the ability to play man-to-man in the slot.
Because Downs hasn't been asked to do it?
He hasn't been asked to do it. Also, too, Brian Branch has shown the ability to be the deep third safety. At Ohio State in his junior year, they moved him closer to the line of scrimmage. And so I would say if we're going to comp him to a guy, you'd have to play him more like Jalen Petrie plays in Houston than Brian Branch.
Yeah, he's such a good player, and I think what's amazing is that he's always in the right position, despite the fact that he is not a supreme athlete and he doesn't have Kyle Hamilton-like size, but RC's tape highlighted he's just an unbelievably intelligent player.
Yes.
I don't know if I've seen a player, frankly, on tape who communicates as much as he does pre and post snap, sometimes in the middle of plays, telling the players on that Ohio State defense where to be. So you are getting a guy who comes in and immediately you know the football IQ is off
What's
the
the big reservation then?
Splash plays.
The lack of top-end speed, I don't think you want him playing the post full-time.
I agree.
And he doesn't have the range, and then he doesn't have the size of like a Hamilton. So he's good as a blitzer. He takes great angles, but he is not going to win purely because of athleticism.
And guys, we always bring up history in these moments. Let's remember, Derwin James, who is a phenomenal freak, went in the late teens. Troy Polamalu went in the late teens. Ed Reed went in the 20s. Right? Like, safety is traditionally a position you don't draft that high.
Yeah, look, I think you have to have a plan for it.
Yes.
That's the most important thing if you're drafting Caleb Downs. This is what we're going to ask you to do. With all of the tools that he has as far as in that Ohio State defense, it's another level now. You're going to be asked to cover tight ends that can beat DBs one-on-one. You're going to be asked to tackle in space against Saquon Barkley and guys like Bijan Robinson. This is a different animal when it comes to him in space on the next level. And that's why the jump is so significant. RC, I promise on everything I love, before we talked about Caleb Downs, I was going to ask you, bro, who was the safety in Indy that they had? That's who Caleb Downs is and what he's going to have to be.
And me and Lydell were laughing about this. Lydell goes, you know, my comp for him was you. And I wasn't as good of a college football player as he was, but being able to anticipate, being able to study, being able to line people up, that's a huge part of playing the safety position, which Caleb Downs already has, and he's a phenomenal tackler. A guy like Christian Parker, who has been able to utilize people in the secondary the way he did at Philadelphia, would be a great place, in my opinion. And 12 is a superb number to get.
You're showing 2 and rotating the safety. That would be the way I'd use him too.
His family has NFL ties. His brother, his dad, he knows it well. And a lot of the teams that have spent time
Mendoza. Drop by Akeem Mazador. Chased by Bay. He got him! His pass rush has become furious.
Eat, sleep, and breathe football. That's all I do.
Both of those guys are going to be impact players day one.
They'll be separate, but they'll still meet at the same place, and that's the quarterback.
Now, Ruben Bain Jr. had the 3rd shortest arm length of any edge rusher at 2026's NFL Combine. However, he said that no team has mentioned his arm length during his interviews, focusing on his play instead, and rightfully so for what he's put on tape. RC and Marcus, just how big a deal is the arm length for an edge guy like Bailey?
RC, I'm going to start with this. Turn the tape on. That's what we always say, turn the tape on. It has not affected anything about how he plays football. And at times, he's a smart enough and a cerebral enough D-lineman, D-end, to understand that that could be impactful. So his pass rush moves that he uses. As example, Florida, you're facing a lot of long, tall guys. He understands the bend. This is where you win anyway. Why the hell you think a 6'6" Myles Garrett tries to scrape the floor with his hands when he's rushing around the edge to get under these guys? This is him on the interior using those quote-unquote short arms to hit the point of attack and then do an arm over and get to the quarterback. And this is what I love about Ruben Bain. I had an opportunity a couple times to watch film with him when he was working out in Dallas. He was in there with his coach. He was in there with Mo Wells, you know, Mo, who trained him and worked him out. We watch film. It's cerebral.
Love it.
He is not just going on the field saying, I'm going to run around and make plays. He's diagnosing plays, understanding formation tendencies. And then in this pass rush, he's a staunch technician. And that comes from Jason Taylor, his head coach of Hall of Fame at edge rusher, but also him understanding where his limitations are and not allowing people to take advantage of it.
I saw Ruben Bain last night when I was walking to my hotel. He had wing sauce on his face. He popped out of the wing store, the wing shop, and came to tell me hello. He's all football. When I watched him train in Dallas in the same place that you saw him, he led every single drill, right? He was focused on whatever the coach was saying, whether it was technique when he was working his pass rush drills or working in the weight room. So you get a pro right away. You get a guy that can stop the run. But the other thing I love is this. When you listen to dudes who are short basketball players, they say, hey, man, before I was a Hall of Famer, I was 6 foot then. When you talk to guys like Chris Paul, Ruben Bain understands how to utilize his skill set to get to the quarterback and make plays. I believe you get a good pro, especially in the places they're talking about drafting him, Laura.
I love it. By the way, he had wing sauce on his face. He's got that in common with Mina. Mina's always got wings.
Always.
Not right now.
Our girl loves some wings.
Mina be
Crushes
chewing.
them. Get some wing sauce. In fact, now you're making me crave wings. All right, let's talk about Jordan Tyson as we switch our attention back to the wide receivers. Tyson getting ready to go. I love this access we're getting here. You get to see these guys picking their outfits out, getting everything laid out, putting them all on the biggest night of their lives in a lot of ways. Dreams are going to come true tonight. And let's talk a little bit more about these wide receivers. Field Yates projecting Jordan Tyson to go 8th overall to the Saints in his final mock draft. One pick after Ohio State's Carnell Tate, who goes 7th to the Commanders. Other projected first-round wideouts from the field, including Mekhi Lemon, who will be here tonight, Denzel Boston, and Omar Cooper Jr. So let's take a closer look at some of the guys we haven't talked as much about, Mina, as you look at the wide receivers that could be taken in the back half of round 1, some of their traits. And we begin with what you like about Omar Cooper Jr.
Yeah, I really like this second tier of receivers because they all have special traits. Starting with Omar Cooper Jr., the thing that leaps off the tape, the run after catch ability. He's so smooth with the ball in his hands. Starting with Thayer, this is against Illinois. They send pressure, so all he has to do is make one man miss. He ends up making 2 guys miss, as you see here, and he's not a burner, but because he has such great contact balance and strength, he's able to stay on his feet and turn these what should be short gains into explosives. Here on the RPO in the national championship game, again, it's like the safety bounces off of him because he's got such incredible play strength. This is one of the most explosive games in the entire game. Denzel Boston out of Washington, catch radius. You are drafting him to score touchdowns like he does here. Smooth off the corner route, but reaches over the defensive back because he's so much larger than him and then has the body control to keep his legs in bounds. Here we just got a little mesh concept versus man coverage. This is not a particularly well-placed ball. It doesn't matter when you have 32-inch arms like Denzel Boston. He is one of the most reliable pass catchers in the entire draft. Finally, Casey Concepcion, personal favorite, juice, separation, winning so quickly off the line of scrimmage that he throws up the mailbox before it's even 10 yards out. He often has to come back for the ball. He does a nice job tracking it here. Here, the out and out versus off coverage. Again, the ball is underthrown, so he does a nice job coming back to it. But because he got so open, he often has to come back to the football. I think he's a really exciting player. He has unteachable speed, and I think all 3 of these receivers have traits that are really enticing.
Yeah, we've talked about the depth of this receiver class, and what you just illustrated there, these are guys that we haven't even been spending as much time on, and they're going to be difference makers for some of these teams. Let's go back to Cooper here for a minute, Dan. What does he bring to an offense, whoever gets him?
Yeah, he's Jarvis Landry to me. Again, not going to run by people, but he's going to give you 1,200 yards. Yep. You're going to give him 80 catches. I do think where he goes is a big deal because he's not going to be your traditional outside, go whoop somebody in routes. You want him to work the middle of the field. You want him to be in that RPO game that Mina was highlighting, get him the ball in his hands. It makes me question or think if he's there for Carolina, is Carolina an option?
It's a nice compliment to Ted McMillan.
Exactly. I do think he's got to be that secondary complementary receiver. San Francisco, Ricky Pearsall, and Mike Evans, is he that complementary piece? Those are 2 teams that if he goes to, I immediately think he's 70, 80 catches and 1,200 yards.
All 3 of these guys should go in the first round tonight. Mina laid it out perfectly. I think Kenyon Sadiq is also going to go in the first round, and those are really your 4 pass-catching targets after the big 3 wide receivers. Teams to look for. I think Carolina is very much in the market. Whether at 19, Sadiq or one of the wideouts at 19, or they trade back and get one else. Browns at 24 if they take a lineman at 6. And the Jets are fascinating. The Jets could sit at 16 and maybe Mekhi Lemon is still on the board. Or the Jets could take here, which I think it might be a little bit of a reach, taking a Cooper or taking a Concepcion at 16. Or you just say, we love this guy, we're taking him. I think those are your 3 teams to watch for wide receivers and tight ends. Carolina, Jets, Browns in the back half of the first round.
I don't love Lemon in New York because Garrett's the guy that I want working in the middle of the field. I don't love a player like a Lemon or a Cooper in Cleveland because Jerry Jeudy's kind of prospect.
Very polarizing.
Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in this class.
Simpson is a star in the making.
Simpson, touchdown, Ty. Elite quarterback operation.
Small sample size, 1 season as a starter. He's had really good moments, but also full games of what is he doing.
The ideal spots for him might be more round 2 than round 1.
People question my arm strength, but I'm going to show them that, there's not a throw on the field that I can't make.
And Simpson says, hush now.
I don't know what to make of Ty Simpson, and I love that.
I think Ty Simpson is QB1.
Ty Simpson getting ready for a big night tonight. He's here with his family. It was really important to his family that they experience this together. And of course, they're hoping that he's drafted in round 1. Adam Schefter, Peter Schrager here. And we begin with you, Adam. What are you hearing about which team may take Ty Simpson tonight and how long he waits in that green room?
Well, Laura, the first thing I heard about Ty Simpson is he was in the same spot where I bought my suit earlier today to pick out his own suit. He had his own fashion faux pas. I got that pronounced correctly. Hopefully Dan's not going to criticize me.
Wow.
As for tonight and where he might go, he won't go as high as Dan Orlovsky would take him at the top of the draft, but I would think the watch starts somewhere in the middle of the first round. I think there could be potentially a trade back team. Everybody's watching Arizona. There are teams in the second round, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, that are waiting to see what would happen with Ty Simpson. People wondering whether Cleveland would have interest. There are some of the teams at the back end of the first round tonight that Arizona might have to jump up. You notice I didn't say the Jets. It feels like to me these other teams might have more interest, but that's the question that we get to answer tonight. Which team here is going to go after Ty Simpson? Remember last year, the Giants traded up to 25 to get Jackson Dart. Maybe we see that repeat tonight.
Laura, in my first mock draft a couple of weeks ago, I didn't have Ty Simpson in the first round, and I thought I don't have a team for him. In my last mock draft 2 days ago, I had him going 32nd, and I threw him to Arizona. I said, I still don't really have a team for him. The amount of times I've picked up my phone today with questions from other teams asking about what I'm hearing on Ty Simpson tells me there's a market for Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson will go in the first round tonight. The question is, how high will Ty Simpson go tonight? I don't have necessarily the team pegged, but teams that have quarterbacks were calling me and saying, what are you hearing on Simpson? For you? No, just curious, trying to do our board and everything. Simpson is at the draft today. RC, as the former player here on it, you wouldn't go to the draft without knowledge that you're likely going to be taken in the first round, and you're going to have that moment with your fans and your friends. I will say this. Dan Orlovsky, you got beat up pretty bad this last couple of weeks. Pretty bad this last couple of months. And I think tomorrow there's going to be some Dan Orlovsky redemption.
Peter, you think it's going to take till tomorrow? Peter, if Ty Simpson goes in the first round tonight, Dan is going to quote tweet himself 27 times before the first round's over.
No. There's going to be an instant reaction video.
I'm being dead serious here, though.
From a room.
I think the NFL, as Dan has said all along, thinks has a lot more highly than Ty Simpson and maybe us in the media, and that'll come. The chickens will come to roost, whatever it says.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know which team, but I think tonight he goes.
Why though?
Well, my gut throughout this whole process has always been the tape says first rounder, and I've always felt mid first rounder to 20th pick type of thing, and I've always thought, and I told you this today, everyone's been quiet about it because they liked him. Just a gut feeling of it. I think he has a drive, and I know the small sample size. He has a drive against Wisconsin that I would put against any quarterback's drive of the season. This is one drive, all consecutive plays. This is play after play after play. Ball fake on first down. He's reading that flat defender. He's going to throw this ball from the 21-yard line for everyone who says he doesn't have arm strength, and he puts it right on the money, floated over the top. That's first down. We go to the very next play. Pass. No one open down the field. Stand in the pocket, shuffle, two hands on the ball, no one's open, take off as a runner, two hands on the ball, go and get yourself positive yards. That's not a sack, that's a very next snap underneath the center. Motion, ball fake. I love this. Peek to the top of the screen, not there. Look at that triangle throw. In between 3 or 4 defenders. That's to make the right throw at the right time. Very next snap. Formation into the boundary. Here comes the motion. Ball fake. You want to talk about a dude fitting a ball into a tight window? They're trying to run verticals here. Watch the bottom of the screen. Let me place that ball perfectly once again in between 3 defenders, and then the very next play. In the red zone, ball has to be face mask or higher. Ball fake, double post. Corner tries to underneath slip. Ball comes out. Look at the placement of the throw. That is 6 consecutive snaps of them on the road, or excuse me, at home going, dude, you go and lead us to the touchdown. I would put that drive, when I saw it, I said, there ain't no way that if you evaluate that position in the NFL, there is no way that you could watch that tape and say, I don't want to pick him in the first round.
So here's what happened to Ty Simpson's season. Abysmal start, against Florida State. The game that Dan is talking about is the third game of the season. They go on a run throughout that process. We are all looking at Ty Simpson and saying this is top 10 football play. And then you look at the last few games of the season, you think about Auburn, you think about Georgia, you think about Indiana, and you say to yourself, there is no way in God's green earth I can draft him in the first round. And so if you're a talent evaluator where you're watching that film, you have to figure out which Ty Simpson are you getting, and do you have enough around him?
Did you like the Auburn comeback, though?
I did. That was late in the game. He did make
done the work, I could tell.
Play ball. So the point is, still, Phil, what I'm saying to you, as a talent evaluator, you have to figure out, do you have the requisite pieces to allow Ty Simpson to be the guy you saw from week 3 to week 10?
Exactly why the 15 starts matters, right? More so than a guy that's played for 3 seasons. Sometimes guys go through ruts. We've highlighted some of the great stuff that Ty brings to the table. I believe Ty is a first-round quarterback. The other side of the coin that teams are asking themselves is that this is a moderately sized quarterback. He's 6'1" and 1/8 of an inch. He's 212 pounds. He was lighter than that during the season. Ball security was an issue for him throughout the season.
Yes.
And the decision-making down the stretch, like, it was better talent he was facing off against. But even in a game against Eastern Illinois late in the season when the SEC take kind of their week off from conference play, maybe the energy just wasn't there because it's not some big-time opponent in a great environment. That game was off the normal standard you expected from Ty Simpson. So period, end of story, 35 starts, which is how many Fernando Mendoza has under his belt, just gives you more confidence that what you are seeing, that you believe in, is more real. That applies to anything in life.
And Triggs, I'm not making excuses here, but he was beat up, especially towards the latter part of the
I would just add this. In another draft, maybe, end of the first round or early second round, this is not a blue chip draft. If you're looking at interior offensive linemen in the back half of the first round, or positions of value that maybe you're just kind of reaching for a project tackle, he's a quarterback. And he can play quarterback. And I believe Ty Simpson's name is going to be heard earlier than what we're talking about.
And I don't want Eisman to kill me. You also, if you do believe he could be that guy and he may have to sit, going back into the first round gives you one more year to evaluate him and allow him to process.
To that point, Field has the Cardinals trading with the Dolphins for the 30th pick to select Ty Simpson in his final mock draft that we saw. This not only gives
Might be
Arizona.
Too late, sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. He was not going to still be there.
He also turned down a lot of money in NIL to come to this NFL draft. This guy knows something we don't.
He felt pretty confident about his positioning. All right, you know who else is confident? Swagoo. What's coming up next?
The Goo Man.
Tell us what's next.
Yeah, you know, BMB is coming up. I put on a mid-suit because it's draft night and everybody needs to look good. And all that talk about Ty Simpson, you can't do a damn thing if the big fellas ain't up there keeping you clean. So Alabama offensive line wasn't that great all year long. I've heard it, yada, yada, yada. We gonna focus on some big offensive. Maui Noah, when you get your name called, make sure they put a play in there for you to catch the ball. Reuben Bain Jr. Talk about your arms. Talk about the length. Can he do this in the league? Can he do that? I saw him do all of this. I saw him make plays outside of the tackle box time and time again. And you know when a big fella get an interception, he gonna be on BMB. I'm fond of this guy because he plays the right way all the time. Go get the interception, look in the camera, and let them know that BMBs rule the world. And last but not least, this may be the biggest baby BMB to ever grace the stage of BMB during the NFL draft, Caden Proctor. Look, we made a big thing of this during the season, but I had to run it back because the big fella gonna get his name called tonight. We just finished talking about his quarterback. If it had not been for Caden Proctor, maybe Ty Simpson wouldn't have been into the situations to show people he should be a first-round draft pick. We always showing up somewhere. We're evolving. We continue to evolve. Don't be surprised if we line up in the slot a little bit this year, if we line up a little bit in the backfield, if we get in some wildcat, all of those things you've seen. But the more and more I promote the 300-plus club, the more and more you're going to see us making plays. Baby BMBs, good luck tonight and congratulations from Grandfather BMB.
He's a grandpa. Tell him, Swagoo. Hey, that crispy package for Caden Proctor, you know he's going to try to bring that with him. And there he is, getting ready. Look at the suit. He'll be hitting the red carpet very soon. We'll have all the coverage of that on ABC and ESPN. Proud family members in the background. BMBs. He says they're the best athletes on the field, so he agrees with Swagoo. More coming your way here on NFL Live. We're just a few hours away from